Great, thank you so much, and thanks for having me here on this panel, Calvin. I really appreciate the opportunity. So again, I'm Lindsay McCluskey. I'm with the United States Student Association, and like I said before, we're a multi-issue organization. We have a membership across the country of college youth, and they decide what issues they want to work on, and we run grassroots legislative campaigns to win on student issues. And of course, as young people, as college students, we don't have many other forms of power other than our vote. And so it's really, really important so that we're able to win on our issues, that we are registering, as well as taking the opportunity during an election to really educate students about issues that are being made that affect their lives, whether it's on the local level, the state level, or the national level. So elections are really, really important to us. And in 2008, we registered 110,000 young people across the country in 100 days. It was a really, really big part. Angela Peoples in the audience was on the USSA staff during that time. I was not. I was actually a student at the time at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. And for me, it wasn't my first presidential election. I turned 18 about a month before the 2004 elections, but during that time, I wasn't really involved in doing any kind of community work. I went to a high school that didn't really have a lot going on, and I wasn't engaged in 2004. In 2008 was a different story for me because I was at the university, and as soon as I had gotten to the university, I knew that I wanted to organize, because the university that I went to was not a place that was very affordable or accessible to young people in Massachusetts. It's a flagship public university, but had become, like many other flagship public universities, increasingly white, increasingly wealthy, increasingly out-of-state students going there. So I became quickly engaged in doing work on access and helping to set up a student-initiated outreach program to the communities of Springfield and Holyoke, Massachusetts, as well as doing work around issues of higher ed funding and making sure that the state was adequately supporting public higher education so that it was more accessible to more young people in Massachusetts. And it wasn't until I was engaged in that kind of work that I understood why it was important to vote. And in 2008, there were a couple of different issues going on. One, the politics of Massachusetts has changed a lot over the past couple of years, and we've seen that in the recent election of Senator Scott Brown, much to my dismay, I might say, in my Lindsay McCluskey voice, not my organizational voice. However, the politics of Massachusetts has changed a lot, and there had been a ballot measure up on the ballot in 2006 to eliminate the state income tax, and everybody said, all the progressives in Massachusetts said, well, we don't need to worry about it, there's no way that would ever pass. And it got about, it came close to passing. I believe it got about 40% of the vote, 40% of people in Massachusetts voted in favor of eliminating the state income tax, which clearly would have a really devastating effect on a lot of social services and definitely public higher education. And so in 2008, the same people that put it up on the ballot before put it up on the ballot again. And people were worried. They said, things weren't quite as bad in 2006 as they were in 2008. There may be more and more people that are, that want to eliminate the state income tax. So we organized. And we had been doing this kind of work, but it was really the first time on my campus in recent history that we had really, really engaged our campus in really getting involved, and it was through the issues that we got them involved. There was another ballot initiative that may have been a little bit helpful. It was to decriminalize marijuana in the state of Massachusetts. It was another issue that we were able to use to really talk to students about the impact that their vote could have on the state of Massachusetts, and it was much more. It was very real for them, and obviously the 2008 election was bigger than that. There was also an exciting presidential race that got people involved, but we used those local issues and talking peer-to-peer with students on my campus about what they were deciding with their vote in the election. And young people across the country through USSA and through a number of other great organizations were doing the same thing. We're talking to people peer-to-peer. And so that's kind of what I wanted to reiterate in my piece, is a couple of the two main points that Calvin had made earlier. One being that that young people don't necessarily trust the government, but they trust community leaders. And that's central to the work of USSA, and has been central to, or has been one of our successes as an organization doing vote work, is that we don't send our national staff, we don't send paid organizers to do the work of registering, educating, and mobilizing young people to vote, but we train young people to do it themselves. We identify leaders on college campuses that are respected, that are, presidents of Black student unions, presidents of Latino student unions, presidents of organizations, but also just leaders that are respected on campus, and we give them the tools to be able to do that work themselves, because they're much more effective at it than anybody else is going into that space and trying to work with young people there. So that's one of the points I want